Okay, and some of you who may be in the K2 space are sitting there saying, this is great ideas, Amy, but there's absolutely no way I'm having my kindergartners play four corners. And to that, I say, I understand. And here is an alternative. Perhaps for your space and your students, a packet, an activity book packet, is a more realistic form of a brain break where they can get exposed to some of these concepts, right? Maybe it's easier to print it, staple it, and when you have 5 minutes, color, do a maze, look at this picture, all of them covering personal finance and economic topics. So they're getting that absorption, they're getting that exposure, right? Um, so we're going to talk about 3 of those today. These are all going to be direct linked. First one is this Money Monsters activity book. I love this resource. This is from the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau. There is a series of 6 stories about the money monsters, and you can see some of the titles in the table towards the bottom of the slide there. They learn to protect their things. They learn what things really cost. So there's stories about these adorable little monsters. There's an activity book that goes along with it. You can see I referenced the pages again on that little table. And then if you want to extend learning with these books, there are lessons and teacher guides that go along with it. So Money Monsters Learn What Things Really Cost, for example, is about choosing a pet. I'm actually going to reference that lesson later. It's a decision-making lesson. But then they take the teacher through the activity, the book, and then how to work out using a PACE decision-making guide, which pet is best. So love Money Monsters. If the activity book is where you get it the best, or no, that. If the activity book, just printing that out and giving the kids is the best use of this resource, then fantastic. If you want to extend the learning with the books, you can. And I would just note as well that these can be ordered in hard copy for free from the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, and I believe they would arrive in time for next school year as well. And Milady's going to talk to us a little bit about the PNC Grow Up Great activity.
Yes, thank you, Amy. So this was created by the PNC Bank. Is a Sesame Street resource. It's extremely inclusive. It includes a caregiver guide, a parent guide, and an educator guide. It is a dual language resource. It's available in English and Spanish. I make that clear because, again, we don't have the capacity to vet resources in another language other than English and Spanish. So whenever we refer to dual language resources, please note it's going to be English and Spanish. It is equitably translated. I cannot emphasize how important that is. We've looked at so many resources that have good translations, but they're not equitable. This is for K3 students. We need the language to be accessible and comprehensive to those students. A lot of the times you see resources that are translated for K3 students and they're using high school vocabulary in Spanish. That's a no-no. So this resource, again, is this resource, again, is really equitably translated and equitably illustrated. It's exactly the same in English and in Spanish. It includes that activity book. The activities are, of course, with the financial education theme, financial education concept around cutting, pasting, drawing, coins, money. Also, one of the things that I like is that they approach this from, how are we going to talk about sharing and giving and spending and saving? We're going to lay that foundation with choice and value. Everything they do is talking about choices, making students aware of what they're doing when they are spending. You're making a choice, right? You're deciding to give something up in order to get something. Having that vocabulary, providing that vocabulary to our students is really, really important. It has a lot of modeling happening throughout the activity book. So it's not just those activities for the classroom. It's just also a guide to start that conversation and things that we can do as adults to promote, the starting point for getting the language and getting that awareness and understanding, oh, this is what I'm doing. Yeah, when I value something, I can wait patiently and save for it. So there's one more thing that I want to mention, and it is, okay, one of the activities I like the most about this activity book is giving. So they do have an activity for giving, and it's drawing a flower, painting it in, and then finding someone you want to give it to. I love that. They do discuss charitable giving. They do discuss giving to someone you like, your friend. It's extremely inclusive. I cannot say one bad thing about it. So if you have those early learners, highly recommend. If you're not a dual language educator, but you know dual language educators, please let them know, because I know we recently went to Othello, Washington, visited Ludakaga Elementary, and that is a 50-50 dual language school, K-6. Got to watch amazing instruction take place. I was floored. I was wowed. I was inspired. And I got to have a conversation with those educators about, hey, what are the challenges you face when you are teaching dual language instruction? And they said resources. It's hard to find resources that are equitably translated. It's hard to find resources that are translated that keep students engaged, that hold their interest. Somehow something is missed when it's translated. So I took that, I've used it, I've kept it in mind. Amy as well, every time we are vetting a resource and recommending it and adding it to our resource list, you believe us, it's going to be good. So that is definitely one that you should check out.
And as you'll see too, I just want to point out this link for additional sources. All the activities Milady was talking about, you can find there, including videos. Videos are a fantastic way to introduce brain breaks, and that we're going to talk about again in the library when we get to that section. The last activity book that I want to mention is Personal Finance Printables from the Council on Economic Education. They have a huge lesson repository and their Econ EdLink website, which again is linked here. The reason I bring this one up is because it's differentiated, and I do love that. The first 15 pages or so are very basic, saving and spending, math and money, coin identification, employment, things like that. Appropriate for the K2 level, or you could scaffold it if your kids are at a higher level and coming with zero base knowledge of the financial education part of it. For the 3-5, the last 20 pages, it really does kind of level up, starts talking a little bit more about budgeting, decision-making, economics, and it does have nice introductions to tax and credit in ways that are very easy to recognize. Again, we're just looking for that exposure for them to kind of osmosis absorb some of these vocabulary terms and this knowledge.
Yeah, create awareness.
You'll also see, I have a table here as well. You'll get this resource. So with aligned to the K2 activity book, I went through and chose some great games and activities from the Econ EdLink website that kind of reinforce or follow up with these concepts. So you can, again, extend learning if you choose. We're hoping that somebody can get some great subplans out of some of this as well. Like, we have ready to go resources here for you. Let's make those days of learning. Okay, so now we're going to jump into our second strategy, which is, again, those decision-making skills using set criteria. We're going to present to you here. I'm going to present about 6 of my favorite lessons, choosing lessons that can be easily adapted, all from reliable sources as well. So just quickly want to reinforce, this is our standards. Again, just want to remind everyone that this is all coming back to that foundation of decision-making that underlies a lot of those social emotional skills and those financial decision-making skills as well. I'm shouting out a lesson on allocation, right? The allocation of resources when resources are scarce. That is more of an economic concept, not necessarily specific decision making. But I do think it's an incredible SEL lesson. So I'm mentioning it here. We talk about, and I'm missing a comma, and there's some capitalization issues on that green square, and I apologize, that's going to bother me. But we talk about, contest versus competition versus first come, first served. The notion of what is fair within a classroom or within a classroom community, and how do we hand out resources. So this is, I think, a really cool lesson that I just wanted to advocate for. It is a first grade lesson. I would strongly argue that it could be adapted for older kids as well. All right, but coming into decision making, and what I'm actually going to do here, I'm going to try to do is drop these links in the chat. Oh, maybe. I don't know if it's going to work or not. It was my intention to. I don't think it's going to work. So my intention was to drop those in the chat so you could take a look at the lessons if you wanted to while I was chatting. But again, I'm not sure if that is going to work as converting them from my teacher notes. So apologies. So the first one I'm going to talk about here, and I think that link did go through. This is a from Consumer Finance Bureau. These are our pet lessons. And I did kind of talk about the pet lessons earlier, right? It's a great way for kids to start looking at decision making. So the first one is from CFPB. It connects to a Money Monster story, like we talked about earlier with those activity books. This one quantifies time and money and the scale. So we can see a 1 clock is easy, 5 clocks, a lot of time on that pet. And then we're building a table where we compare both the time and the money to make our decision. In the bottom one, this Danny chooses a pet. This is a PACE decision-making grid. So looking at the alternatives, the criteria, and then what I love about PACE as a math teacher is it quantifies decision-making. We look at the net value of our choices and we make a decision based on the math. I will shout out this curriculum as well from the Minnesota Council of Economic Education. You'll get a link to them. They have great curriculum. And it is, the title of it is Mathematics and Economics. And so you have math integrated into every part of it, which if you are looking for, again, those cross-curricular resources, this is a great lesson for you.